The CYA mode of your job, which is cover your A, right? Your whole focus is, I'm trying to make sure that I'm covering this. Everybody knows that I'm doing stuff, and everybody knows what I'm doing. But when you're doing that, you're really not being productive. You're just doing a lot of work to show this versus just not worrying about that and just doing what I'm supposed to do in the next moment, you know? And that's, even at work, that's hard for me to do at times. Because I'm constantly, there's that thing going, well, yeah, what if it doesn't work, and what if somebody challenges you on this, and what if this, like, you know, and when the moments that I'm most productive are the moments that I'm just looking at what's going on and interacting with people and building into those things. And it doesn't mean I don't plan, it doesn't mean I don't, you know, look ahead and try to strategize, because those are all smart things. But I don't strategize based on what people are going to perceive me to feel, look, or act like. You know, I strategize based on a result that I'm paid to do, right? Versus perception of me. So I don't know. It's just, like I said, I spend a lot of time telling stories, and then I have to go back and go, how much energy does that take for me to constantly having to be telling myself positive or negative stories just to get myself to be able to do something. I've got to exert all this energy to sell myself that something positive is going to happen, because the only way I'll do it is if I'm convinced something positive is going to happen.
Emotional energy.
Yeah, emotional energy. But then I look at it and go, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, how crappy is that? Like, I have to, instead of just doing what's right, I've got to work myself up into a position called I have to, like, bait myself, right? Like, dangle a carrot that's big enough for me to go do what's right. And so, going back to this weekend when I was looking at stuff, I was like, I in studying Torah and doing recovery and some of the stuff, I've really learned a lot. Some of that's it's all good. The way I've processed a lot of that stuff is I have at times become maybe addicted to learning and doing those things versus just utilizing what I've learned to better experience what I'm doing in that moment, right? And it hit me when my wife, I told you guys, my wife made that comment about Sabbath and rest, and she was like, why don't you just look at it as like enjoy? Like, you keep trying to figure out a way to rest, like, and she goes, and you're trying to rest, you're like, and like, it's like this whole, you're exerting a lot of energy just trying to rest. And I'm like, she goes, why don't you just enjoy it? And understand, like, you got 2-year-old kids. Enjoy them, You think God wants you to pay attention to them and enjoy them, or be stressed out about the fact that they're taking you away from whatever it is, this version of rest you think you're supposed to be having? And I was like, dang, dude. Preach, sister, But then I said, what a great perspective. It's just be authentic with my kids during the day. Pray with them when we're hanging out. Talk to them when we're doing this. Play in the yard. We play in the swimming pool. We hang out. I don't have to make it a formal religious thing. Just enjoy being with them, Enjoy. And I said earlier, like, God, these are all blessings. And God's given them to me in some sense for me to take care of. And part of me taking care of them is enjoying them. That's kind of equated to, if I gave my daughter a car, I would expect her to take care of it and enjoy it. Like, not driving around and being like, oh, I gotta wash this car again, like, be angry the whole time. Like, she would wash the car and enjoy the car. So, like, I've got to enjoy my home, enjoy my job, enjoy my relationships. And there's a part of that, like, when I did that, I just relaxed, There's all that projecting stopped, and I realized how much energy I am exerting by projecting. So, it's a big, I won't say a big focus for me right now, but it's something I'm really becoming more and more aware of. On how to chill, and take the time and do what it is in each moment that God wants me to do. Even with my studies, sometimes I can study and have expectations around, all right, I gotta sit down, I'm gonna learn, I've gotta learn, I don't know, I've got to walk away with something, And
Instead
instead of
letting
just,
God be God.
yeah, exactly. And I think back to like when I didn't know anything, I would sit down and like read and be like, oh, you know, and I'd walk away with stuff. But the important part wasn't me walking away with like a nugget. That was my way of connecting to God. The point of it was to connect to God, not to make me smarter. You know, in doing that, I got smarter, but that wasn't the driving force behind it. I wasn't looking for, all right, I've got to get, you know, a 3-point sermon out of this sit-down session or it's not worthwhile. All right, and if I can't walk away with at least 6 pages of my journal done, it wasn't a productive time session with God, you know, and then I walk away aggravated. I'd sit down and whatever, and it would pour out, you know, in those moments. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I'm sure in some capacity you have. But anyway, I'm talking a great deal, so I want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you guys think about this? And I'll just leave it open like that.
This is the core of the whole bit. How to be authentic.
Well,
This is a deep one.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of my deepest struggles in life. Is I'm consistently past the desire to use drugs and alcohol to satisfy my mindset or personality or who I am, but I cannot stop projection. Like that's the hardest thing I have. I mean, I have moments of victory over it when you're just walking in obedience to like each moment. You have those moments in time, but it's those stagnant times when you sit there and then thoughts begin to crop up about, well, I'd really like to position myself to be able to experience this, and I got to make sure I do this, and then I got to really focus on this and this so that I can get to that. And then you're trying to shake that tree loose sometimes just so you can be on the right track of obedience. And then it's just something that stuff kind of always lingers in your mindset of like, in order to achieve a wife and kids and all this kind of stuff, then you have to make sure your finances are up to par. And at the end of the day, it's like those are good things that I want in life, but sometimes it can take away from enjoying your time, you know what I mean, as opposed to like, you gotta make this happen kind of deal. So that I haven't really come full circle with constantly being able to keep that a consistent flow instead of, it always comes in bits, like you'll have a day where you're, fully in the moment, every moment of the day is just consistent upon doing the next right thing, and then there'll be days where your day is set up to kind of align yourself to think about how to get yourself accurately arranged to get those things. You know what I mean?
so when you were talking, one thing that is an interesting question, I guess, would be, so I think of times where I've been in that kind of zone, if you want to call it, where it's like I'm just in the moment, authentic, and when those things when I've been there, my life improves, I guess you'd say, and everything around it kind of increases or expands. And in the moments where I'm trying to accumulate or acquire, I don't know that I've actually, I'm sure I've grabbed on to stuff, but it's definitely not the same experience when I've received it. I think I've experienced the coming of things in my life in two different ways. There's times where I grab stuff, and there's times where I get stuff. And a lot of times I have a tendency to think, especially when I start learning how to do principles in my life and live things that like, if I do this, and this, then that means I should be moving in a direction to get these things. And I get caught up in what I'm going after versus what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I can be in that moment of doing what I'm supposed to be doing, those things come in whatever capacity God wants them to come in my life. But I'm not stressed about them. I'm not worried about them. I'm grateful for what shows up because it helps me stay in a place called, which is, if we're all honest, is the reality of the matter, which is I didn't get any of this. And it's not by any work of mine that I receive anything, right? It's by grace that, God decides to, because I'm not saying principles don't attract things to me by doing those things, but I don't think there's a way of going, well, if I, do this and do this, then, I'm going to get a big check over here. Like, we all know that if you do good things typically happen, but that doesn't mean all good things happen, because what is good? We already said bad things are good too, right? We perceive them as bad, but they're good. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out that way. It's not that simple. What I've got to focus on is how I experience and how I open myself up to whatever happens, right? And focus not so much on doing things to cause X, Y, Z to happen, but maybe it's more of a focusing on doing what I'm supposed to be doing so that I don't purposely cause negative things to happen, right? Like I used to. We know if I'm doing those things, I don't have to worry about that. But that I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's almost, I always feel like Jason used to say this all the time. I was like, see what's on your plate today. See what's on your plate today. See what's on your plate today, right? That's all God asks you to do. Look at what's on your plate today and do the best you can with what's on your plate today. And God takes care of us, right? And it doesn't mean we don't work hard. It doesn't mean we don't have things. That's all I'm getting at. It's like one of those lives where you're just like, oh no, maybe I'll get a big house, maybe I won't, and I'll just sit here and goose fraba and hum and see what pops up. Santa Claus shows up today, right? But I know for me, when I'm in that place called, let's just focus on what I'm supposed to do right in this moment with this person or this place or this thing, then all that kind of goes away. That's the part of it takes care. And I would say it takes care of it. God takes care of it, and it's neat to tell ourselves that, well, because I did this and I helped these people, that God did this for me, right? Those are neat stories, but we don't necessarily know that because I did, I gave Mark a $10 bill because he was down and out, that I got a $50 bill over here. I hear people say that stuff all the time. It's like, I gave this guy $10. I don't know. Maybe it's because you helped a baby 15 years ago. Maybe it's because, who knows? Just appreciate you got something here, and appreciate you got to give something over there. Why we got to get into all that? Because it makes us feel better, or not, depending on what feeling we're trying to get.
I notice what helps me a little bit in those times, and what I've kind of experienced growth over is like when you're looking at more of the perspective on who you need to be as an individual to achieve whatever it is you kind of desire as a long-term result. Like you said, you're more along the lines of you're setting the environment for those things to come in your life, or through obedience to working on your character and your what you're actually who you are in God. Then it's almost setting yourself up to be aware of when those things come, as opposed to like when you're on the outer materialistic standpoint, you're not really concerned about a lot of the times on where's your heart at, and where's your, what are you doing for other people right now. So
No,
it's kind of been helping me a little bit.
that's gold, man. That's a great statement to say to ourselves is, I need to focus on who I need to be versus what I want to happen. And that's, in a nutshell, that's it. Because all the stuff we look at with principle, all that stuff, it's all about us learning to be who we're supposed to be. And when I say do what we're supposed to do, and doing what we're supposed to do, it helps us be who we're supposed to be, right? But it doesn't mean we know what's going to happen. It's not there. We're not supposed to be who we're supposed to be for any X, Y, or Z result to happen. I think that's gold, man. That's good. So how do we stay focused on that? Is it important enough for that to be a primary focus for us?
That's a good question.
And is that the only, should that be the only focus for us?
I don't think it should be your only focus, because at the end of the day, then it kind of wears room for, lifting up another person. You know what I mean? In the aspect of when you truly can submit yourself to, like you said, Mark or whoever it is, like wanting them to go up, as opposed to looking on the inside of what you want to do yourself to go up. So I mean, I think you have to have a balance of like.
Well, so that goes back to how does one ascend?
I was just going to say, I feel like by looking at someone else, build your self-character.
So if if I look at
Doing what you're
how
supposed to
the intended design, how do I become all I'm supposed to be? It's a simple one, like love God, love others, right? So I'm paying attention to Him. I'm paying attention when I'm doing it, because it's not a self-focused thing. It is an others and God-focused thing. The only way I can be everything I'm supposed to be is by doing those things, because the whole thing is
Die to self, serve others.
serve God, serve others, right? So no, it's not a self-serve thing. So that's the thing is, and again, it's the tricky part, right? Because we have it's so natural to be self-absorbed. But those are all great indicators, right, for us to see when we're journeying down that. That's us saying, how do we get ourselves into that position? Well, am I focused on me, or am I focused on somebody else? Am I projecting, or am I focused on being in the moment? Right? Am I focused on being the best me for whoever's around me right now, or am I focused on something else? And what are the things that I can do in this moment to be the best me? Sometimes it might be just do your job, right? Sometimes it might be listen. Sometimes it might be talk, But we got to be open to whatever those things are, because it can be. I've seen people that, to be the best me, I've got to stay focused on ministering to people. Well, then they neglect their job, right? So that's not being the best you can be, because you've got a job that you've been given to do, and in doing that job, it opens up the door for other stuff. So it is a lot of this. There's all these intricate pieces of this that aren't so easy to put together. So it kind of goes back, for me, I always got to go back and go, okay, where am I right now? Who's around me? What am I supposed to be doing? And how do I get the best version of me possible into X? Right? And I think that's the benefit of learning a lot of principles, is that I can understand how to determine what those things are. When I've got multiple things around, I can understand, what is it I'm supposed to do here, not to earn anything, but just so I'm educated and making a good decision, so I can take that next step. It's kind of like when you're reading instructions to do something. I can read ahead like a lot of people like to do, but if I really do it right, I just read this instruction and do it. Just read the next instruction and do it. Read the next instruction and do it. And guess what? It's not glamorous when you do it that way, right? A lot of times it's not. If you really were to put something together that way, it's not all that exciting until you get done and it's finished, and then you set aside, you back up from it, and it's done. Well, we don't get to back up from our life and put it away until we're done. Sabbath, we get to back up a little bit and look at the week that way. We put the week down, we're done with it, and say, all right, that's, we've created the last 6 days. 7th day, I'm going to separate myself from what I've created over the last 6 days. Take a look at it. See what all God did. See what all took place. See what all happened. What can I learn from it? What was it supposed to teach me that I hadn't picked up already? How can I use this to, better help other people and connect with God? So it's deep, man, because it's like you said, it goes to the core of really who we are. See how much time we got first. We got a little bit. Anybody else got anything? Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? I don't want to ramble on for the sake of rambling on either. That's me being authentic.
I was saying it was the core because what was popping in my head is if you're thinking, projecting, telling that story, you're playing God. You're saying, I know better than God. I think we could all agree that's a sin in this sense of separation. So you're not, if you're doing that, you're not in the kingdom, whatever you want to call it. You're not connected in that moment.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying it goes to the core of how to be in the actual
Zone. What are we gonna call it?
zone,
Yeah.
kingdom, whatever terminology you feel like using.
Yeah. It's and it's tough, dude. Like you think, I think about like how many times I've counseled, ministered, coached, listened to, people, and because I was projecting in those moments and trying to figure out what do I need to say, or and it's not about a matter of like thinking of facts. It's a matter of trying to like almost control conversations or plan out what's supposed to happen. Like because I'm playing God, I'm not allowing God to play God in that situation, and it's causing, like you said, with we use the word sin, it causes separation, but it's a break, right? In that connectivity of the potential connectivity that could take place there, and so that means that there's a break in connectivity, there's a break in flow, and there's a break in whatever could be taking place in that situation for that other person, for me, for the universe, whatever you want to call it, right? Because whenever we connect and we get authentic and connect people, we elevate. I believe we elevate the universe. Like there's healing that takes place, and we elevate all of existence. Because anytime you heal or help or encourage one person, you actually have elevated the whole universe, right? So, because it's no longer at the status it was before, it's in a better state. Because Jake's now in a better state. So all things are not equal anymore. They're at a different. So when I'm trying to figure that out, I could be potentially, stopping that from happening for him. And so it is like I said, it is the core of how do we do that. Like for me, it's just I've got to make sure I'm aware of it more, and not get so caught up in the day of like, stopping and being like in the moment. Don't, and remind myself, be in the moment, be authentic. What does that mean to be authentic? Like, don't worry about what's going to happen and who's going to think what or whatever. Just, talk to God. I just remember like times where I didn't do that early in my recovery, where I was like, I didn't have a lot, so maybe it was less distraction, so it was easier. I don't know. But I remember like just those moments. They were in weird like business meetings. They were in the car. But I had these like incredibly intimate moments with God that were cool. Lack of a better way of saying it. And it didn't have to be orchestrated in any kind of weird environment, or I didn't have to try harder. It was just not projecting and thinking and trying to figure things out. It's just, trying to do the right thing, trying to help, be the best me I could be in that situation and be open to whatever that was. So, that's all I got tonight. That's it.
I think that's right where I was at today to do what I needed with this kind of stuff. So I came off of the plane, and then a couple of days at work, I'm like, you start projecting, you start thinking. And then the biggest takeaway I've gotten is quit playing God. Quit, projecting, assuming, fantasizing, live in that moment, and work on the best me I can be, and everything else is taken care of by God.
What a relief. It's exhausting doing it the other way.
It is.
It's exhausting. And I've been doing that for a while, man. Like not intentionally, but I've been, this is what I've been looking at over the last couple weeks. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm burned out. I'm not. I'm seesawing about my recovery back and forth, like whether I'm excited about it, not excited about it. Church this, no church that, synagogue this, no synagogue that, this thing, man. But it's exhausting. And I'm like, this can't be what. I know you didn't bring me here to let me, for you to wear me out. So I've got to be wearing myself out. And I don't know why it clicked when Tam said it. I was like, I'm just like making way too much out of everything. Just take what you know and what God's teaching you and do the best you can with it at this moment in time. And learn from each situation. Because each situation has something to teach you. Each interaction has something to teach you. Not for me, not for me to feel better about myself, not for me to think. Those are all byproducts that I get, quote, blessings. But so I can be me. And experience, and it opens me up to experience life the way I'm supposed to experience it. Like, it's really at the essence, like, that's authenticity. It's like, It strips everything else away. I can just be, I almost feel like a Buddhist when I say that, like, it's be, or whatever, but...
You can't experience the moment that you're currently in. How can you say you're experiencing God?
That's where He is. Yeah. That's the only way we can experience Him, I think. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but...
I was there Sunday, the first part of the leadership conference, and it was all going, flying right over. It wasn't until, because the people are like, oh yeah, and it wasn't until I said, I don't have a clue what is being taught right now. And I, real quick prayer, God, I ain't got a clue. So I'm going to step back, and I just pushed myself back, and then it was a brick to the face. So that was my accepting my current position in that, but I was trying to figure out. And it wasn't until that point that I actually felt like I was actually like, that was the conversation for me in the car at home. It was like, I feel like I'm in the current, I'm actually in Denver right now. Before I was like trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be experiencing.
Yeah.
Until I stepped back and said, I don't know what the heck's going on right now.
Yeah.
Then it was a brick to the face, and that's what it was. Die to self, serve others.
We lose time, a lot of time that way. I think when you just said that, it reminds me of like when I've been on vacation, and by the time I figure out what's going on, vacation's over. Or like a weekend. By the time like weekend goes by, I'm like, I'm so busy trying to like, blah, 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 that like it's gone. By the time you kind of get situated with it, it's because I spend so much time here and here that it's taken me forever to get situated here. And by the time I get situated, versus just if I'm at noon on Friday and I'm there noon on Friday, then when 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday comes, I'm consistently used to being wherever I am. I don't have a transition time of saying, well, it takes me 3 days to get where I am. Which is, if you think about when you're on vacation and you work a lot, there's like at least for me, I can almost, every time I do something, it takes me a day, if not 2 days, to get on vacation. I go on vacation 2 days previously, but it takes me about a day or two to get there. Where I feel like, okay, I'm finally here, and then it's almost over, and then then I get back, I'm like, I gotta get off vacation. I feel like I'm still on vacation. Well, it's because I'm not in the moment. I'm not present.
I was there 3.5 days before I actually got there. If we're talking in those terms. But what I got from it is don't stop what I did to get there. So when I came back, first thing I did was the same exact thing that I've done to get to that position. Go to work the next day, do everything that, experience the moment instead of trying to figure out how to make it a different moment than what it actually is. It's simple, but it ain't easy.
No.
Right?
It is simple, but it is not easy.
I'm nodding my head because I know when to go upstairs later and I can be like, but nah, it's awesome.
Well, we'll see how everybody does next week. We can all check in on that. See how many of us, whatever, noticed, didn't notice, changed, didn't change. The main thing is that we're all here next week. That's the first thing. All right. Cool. That was fun. That was good. At least for me it was. I don't know if you guys, but for me, I liked it. I needed it.
The core of